In this tutorial, we're going to learn about the filter gallery in Photoshop. The filter gallery is a fun place to add some creative filters to your photo. So I opened up this castle image. So go ahead and open up that castle image in Photoshop. You can see that I had added a bit of saturation, contrast, and clarity from a previous lesson, and I'm just leaving that. To get to the filter gallery, you click filter up here, and there's hundreds of filters that you can add to this layer or to this photo. The first thing that we want to do, and we always want to do, is click this Convert for Smart Filters button. This is to make the filters re-editable so that when we make some changes, when we add a filter, if we decide that later on we don't want that filter, or if we want to make some adjustments, we can go back and do that. So select OK. When you go back to filter, you'll notice that after we've converted for smart filters, a couple of different options have gone away. Vanishing point, there's one in blur, lens blur, but most of these are good to go. So let's go ahead and open up the filter gallery. You can go through and just quickly add a filter. We've done that Gaussian blur before, but let's go ahead and open up the filter gallery and see what that does. This opens up a new window. It will open up our window and our picture in our window. And down here in the bottom left, you can press Command plus or minus on your keyboard. This is a new shortcut we haven't covered yet. Command or Control if you're on a PC, and then plus or minus, which is right to the left of your delete key on your Mac or your backspace on a PC. Okay, you can kind of see what's going on with this photo, or you can just go right here and say fit in view. So that brings up the image as big as possible in this view. It will bring up the last type of filter that you used, and so your filters are over here. They're organized in folders. You've got like 40 or so of them. And the last one I used was this cutout right here. And you can see with every one of these filters, there's also editing options to adjust how it works. So with this cutout, for example, you've got number of levels. So if we drop the numbers of levels, it will actually decrease the number of colors, meaning that there are fewer colors and more blocks. If we decrease the edge simplicity, then we get more detail from that original image. The edge fidelity does affect the very edge of the image and of these colors just a bit. Let's just completely get rid of the cutout and just click on one of these other ones. So let's go down to sponge. That's a fun one. So it takes a little while to load because these filters, it's not literally just adding a texture or a filter on top with some sort of blending mode, but it's actually trying to see and create the actual sponge-like effect or a watercolor effect. So I just click the watercolor. It's going to take a minute to load. And with watercolor, we have our brush detail. If we drag all the way to the left, it's going to load. And there's less brush detail. If we go all the way to the right, things get a little bit more detailed, but I think for a painting with watercolor, we're going to see less brush detail, especially if it was a smaller painting. The shadow intensity, you can make these shadows of your image more or less intense. The texture, you can add or decrease the texture that is painted on. So it's a very cool kind of gallery. The other thing we can do with the filter gallery is add multiple filters onto each other. So you see down here this little panel. This is kind of like a layers panel. Right now we have the watercolor filter on, but we can create a new filter or a new effect layer by pressing that new effect button. It duplicates this watercolor one because I have that watercolor selected, but maybe I want to go down to stylize. Wow, that would be cool. Let's select one of our layers right here, watercolor, and then click glowing edges. And it changes this watercolor filter to glowing edges. We could change the settings for the glowing edges. And this is a combination of two effects. Looks like a Halloween castle to me. Maybe decrease the edge brightness. When you click OK, it opens up and saves those galleries or those filters onto your image. You can turn them on and off just by clicking that eyeball right there. And you can double click filter gallery after this loads to reopen the gallery and re-edit. So it's going to open up right here. We're going to change the size to fit in view. And then I don't like that glowing edges, so I'm just going to delete it. So we just have our watercolor. Now we can select OK. So that's the filter gallery. I want you to go in there and start playing around. In the next lesson, we'll learn a little bit more about how we can adjust the filters we add to any image in a more precise way.